Did you get a seat, Brian?
Well,
You should have enough.
I'm just gonna introduce myself. I'm not gonna
Okay,
Smile.
Althea and Katie, can you guys hear us? Forgot about that stuff.
Are you seasick yet?
I'm so sorry for that. Yeah, technical difficulty, but let's make sure once again, this is clear. Yes?
Yes,
Okay,
sounds great.
I'm gonna go hide in the corner and let you guys.
Okay. Are these the agendas that Tim said?
Well, this is not necessary. Actually, is that including an agenda? Oh, okay. It also includes information that he might have. You could pass it down.
Sure.
You might have received already
Okay.
in your
They're packets.
email.
Very nice.
And then actually we'll let Brian continue.
Good. Okay.
Okay, so everybody have what they need?
Yes, thank you.
Great. So Brian, if you don't mind introducing
Sure.
yourself again, thanks.
Once again, my name is Brian Volk. I'm the new EFA administrator. Tim asked me to come and to your meeting, introduce myself. Our programs do overlap, so hopefully that can be a resource and answer any questions that maybe he can't answer.
Good. Well, we'll begin our meeting then.
Yeah.
We don't have a flag pledge or anything like that, but I guess, but
I can talk to Tim about that.
that's all right. So we'll begin our meeting. It's 2:40 if we're taking minutes like that. Brian, would you like to be what we can put you on the agenda just at the top there? And if you have anybody have any
Sure.
questions for Brian before he checks out?
I do.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, right? I'm
Before-
Michelle
before we
Lavelle, I
start,
represent Granite State
excuse me.
Educators, so thank you for coming today. Nice to meet you.
Sure. Nice to meet
Welcome
you.
to the new position.
Thank you.
The question I have is, do you anticipate?
Excuse me,
the DOE
excuse me.
issuing
I'm
a
sorry to
technical
interrupt.
advisory
they can't
to
hear me.
help explain the differences between the EFA program and home education?
I will have to check on that. I mean, as far as offering a technical advisory. But
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
So I guess to give a little history, it's been confusing where people taking the EFA money are considering themselves homeschoolers, but it's a different set of laws. And so you have different implications for that. And so
Sure.
it'd be nice if they were delineated better as to here's what an EFA person is, and here's what a homeschooled student is. And these are the rules that govern those two different groups. And so that would, I think, just be helpful for a whole bunch of people because they're so similar in outward appearance that
Sure.
people get confused.
And
And we don't expect you to have the answer to
Yeah.
that 3 weeks in.
So actually, could we do introductions? 'Cause
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
There's some new people on our screen.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you, Heather.
No problem.
I'm Mike Kosky. I'm chair, bumbling about for this meeting, and
It's okay, you're doing
Jen,
great.
you can go ahead.
I'm Jen Pereira. I represent the Catholic Home Educators.
I'm Heather Barker and I represent the New Hampshire School Administrators Association.
I'm Rebecca Woodman, and according to my title, I am Home Education Community Representative.
I'm Michelle Lavelle. I represent Granite State Home Educators.
Great, and Althea, if you could
So are you able to hear me?
say hello, you're muted, unfortunately.
I'm not muted, but
No,
you
you're
can
not.
hear
Just
me.
Can't hear you.
Oh, maybe it's not working.
I can type it into the chat.
Well, she represents the New Hampshire Homeschool Coalition.
She's also the secretary for HEAC.
Right,
So she's taking
Okay.
minutes.
and Katie,
Yeah,
can
I'm,
you-
Kate-
we hear you.
yeah, I'm Katie Peternell. I'm a state
Oh,
representative.
Why can't we hear?
Can you not hear me?
the outside? She sent the message.
Is your
Mhm.
volume up? See, down, go over to.
Okay, can Althea or Katie, can you say something again?
Can you hear me?
No.
No.
Sorry.
Is there a volume button here? Speakerphone.
Yeah.
Katie, I think you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. I
Yeah.
can see you and hear you.
Yep. They're in a different room today, I think, so that's why they're having some technical challenges.
Got it. Well, you and I could have a conversation then.
There you go.
Test that. Upper left.
Upper left.
Yeah, test
Okay.
please.
Let's go. Katie, can you go ahead and talk once more?
I'll try again. Does that work?
Wonderful. That's great. Well done.
It's okay. Good job, you guys.
Okay.
I like that right now. Holy cow.
I'm Katie Peternell. I'm a state representative from Carroll District 6, the towns of Tuftonboro and Wolfboro. I homeschooled all 4 of my daughters. I was a representative with the New Hampshire Homeschooling Coalition years and years ago. I am on the House Education Committee and was just appointed to this team last night.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Was there anything specific, Katie, that you wanted to say to begin with, or just joining our meeting and kind of listening in for the first
Oh,
time?
no, I'm just going to join and listen in. Believe me, I've already gotten quite the education in the first 4 months here on the committee. So this will hopefully be a breath of fresh air.
Okay. Let's hope. Great. Okay.
Could I make a comment
Yes, please.
concerning the EFA? Thank you for clarifying, being this is my first time here.
Mhm.
Going through the information that I had, it became obvious to me that this was not part of the RSA 193.
Right.
Yes.
And it also that HEAC is actually the directive for us is under 193,
Right.
which means that we really have no input into or can field questions from homeschoolers concerning the EFAs, which I
Yes.
think, I talked to a few homeschoolers and they have questions about that. So I was glad to be introduced to Brian because now I can direct them to Brian.
Yes. Would that be your role, Brian? If we receive questions from our networks about EFA programs to direct them to you?
Mhm.
Sure. Okay.
Wonderful.
Would you like to give us some contact information, or just, would you find that on the website?
I can give you my email address and phone.
Thank you.
Brian.e.volk, V as in Victor, OELK @DOE.nh.gov. And my phone is 603-931-0828.
Would you mind repeating the phone again?
931-0828.
603. Is that correct? Yeah.
Is your
Thank
information
you.
online yet?
I don't know. I mean, I was an internal employee prior, so,
Okay.
so yes, I'm probably in the state directory.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it, because we do
Sure.
get questions. Yeah, great point.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions for Brian? we can release him otherwise, unless you're welcome to stay. I mean,
No, if you don't need me,
you're
I
welcome to
won't.
stay.
Everybody's all set?
Well, yeah, thank you, Brian. Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Nice to meet everybody.
We'll be spreading your
Yeah.
contacts. Try and not inundate you. Tink you.
Do you have enough room there?
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a request for everyone to state their names before they speak, because I'm not able to see. This system is actually a little bit better because it sort of scans the room, but if people could state their names, then I'll know who's speaking. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Althea. Good point. All right, Michael Koski. Next on the agenda is appointments and resignations. We have terms ending August 31st for Isabella Edwards, Michael Koski, Michelle Lavelle, and Jennifer Pereira.
Can they stay?
That's a good question. I don't know. Is
That's
there
gonna be a
a
big
consecutive term issue? Yes, Michelle. I think there
There's
is.
no, this is
Oh.
Michelle. There's nothing in the bylaws or previous practices that prohibit being reappointed.
Yeah.
But the commissioner has to
Has to
reappoint.
reappoint you. That's what I thought, because I think we asked this the very first year you and I were
Okay.
here. There were, I think you guys have been on it before.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
on it 8 years.
Yes.
I'm not gonna speak for the term. So I
Okay,
think I'd
We
like
hard,
you
girl.
to know that.
Oh,
so Jen will not be seeking another term. And Jen, would you be willing to find a replacement for Chewy? Is it Chewy? Is that how we say it?
I don't, we just say Catholics United. but,
Okay, Catholics
um,
United.
Well, April's representing Catholics United right now, and I did put out a request. I have one possible person, but I don't actually have a name yet. So either we'll have someone or we'll just release our second seat.
But we have some time. Time to apply some pressure.
yeah, right?
Okay. And I'm also considering whether I should stay or not. I will make a decision soon about that. Michelle, do you have intentions to remain?
I'm hoping to recruit somebody within GSHE. I've been a filler person a few times.
Mhm.
But honestly, I'm looking to step into semi-retirement now that my husband is.
Mhm.
80-hour-a-week volunteer jobs are great fun, but I'd really like to scale that back to 30. So,
Very good. Okay, so we'll look forward to that information from everybody. And then we have 8/31/2024 term expirations. Heather Barker, Althea, Sarah Cheek, Representative Cordelli, Representative Ward, April Villani, and Rebecca Woodman. Yes.
I read, they said Sarah Cheek resigned. This is Jen Ferrer. Resignation.
Very good. So yes, I received, thank you, received a resignation letter from Sarah Cheek. Rebecca, are you Sarah's replacement?
I was told by Tim that I was his replacement.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right, so we,
So Tim's not coming anymore either?
Correct.
How's that board don't want you? I just.
Yeah.
It's like a rotating door.
yes, this is Michael Koski. Tim took a new position within DOE. I'm not sure what the title of that
Mm.
is or was. But yeah, he announced that last meeting.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested in recruiting new members out of any of your groups, that would be great. I was representing New Hampshire school principals, but I'm currently part of the Home Educators Association representative from Seacoast and Southern Maine. Seacoast, New Hampshire, and Southern Maine. Christian Home Educators, I think is the
Mhm.
name of the group. So I will ask them if they're interested.
So we're missing private school board and school administrator, school principals.
Right.
I can reach out to those groups, see if they have somebody,
That would be great.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's your responsibility.
This is Jen. In the past,
Sorry, Heather, Althea.
in the past, those positions have been really helpful to discuss home education rules and policies. So they might say, oh, the non-public schools have to do this. Why don't you look at it from this angle? So if we had somebody, it makes it much easier to fill the role of
Yeah.
HEAC and communicate.
Great. So moving on to the agenda. Now we'll, a little backwards, but we're going to review the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda for today? We got to do the minutes. That would be next, I think. Okay. Hearing no changes, we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, which was January 20th. And thank you, Althea, for these. Take a moment and see if there are any changes or corrections that we need to make to those minutes before we vote to accept them.
I'll move to accept them as written. That's Michelle.
Heather, I'll second them.
I would do roll call.
Yeah, any further discussion about the minutes? All right,
I have one question.
yes,
When will we know the rules coming from bid on that? They're updating the rules, is that correct?
yes. The question of when is a great question.
I think that's actually on the agenda.
Is that it, 3:15 adult ed? No.
We'll make it see, yeah.
They're updating the 704.
I mean, they passed the board. We'll come back here later.
Could you repeat that again, Jen?
This is Jen saying that I saw in the updated information from the DOE that the Board of Education just accepted the rules and
Rules for,
for home education.
But not adult ed.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
talking about adult ed.
I don't know that.
okay. So it's a good question. I don't know. Rebecca. Yeah, so we will make note of that. The adult ed rules status. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, so motion made and seconded to accept the minutes. We'll begin with you, Althea, online. Yay or nay to accept the minutes?
Yay, yes.
Thank you. And Michelle
Michelle, yes.
and Rebecca,
Yes.
Yes.
Heather Barker, Jen Pereira,
Jennifer, yes.
and Michael Koski, yes. And Katie, I'm sorry, I'm unclear if you're a voting member or
No.
just, okay, everybody said no. So,
Happy to not vote on something for once.
oh, okay, great. We'll give you that freedom. Thanks. All right. Next on the agenda are public comments. Is there any member of the public who has comments for us? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to Commissioner's Report, updates from the New Hampshire Department of Ed. And Rebecca, would that be you?
No, that's
No.
not me. It's
Okay.
Commissioner. Right? It is.
Okay. You have, oh, is that this form, this paper? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So if you have your paper, NHED Office of Home Education Report.
Did Katie get that?
No, no.
This is the-
Right. This is
this is
a
the final. final revision?
So,
If Katie
yeah.
didn't get that, we could email it to her.
Sure, why don't we do that? If somebody has the attachment, could email this to Katie? Do they have that?
Yeah.
Possibility now? I don't have internet access. Okay. So this appears to be the update report. State Board of Education regarding Ed 315 rule revisions completed the first step of the rulemaking process, adopting the initial proposal at the February 21st, 23 meeting. The board also held a public comment period at their April 13th, 2023 meeting with no testimony received. Rulemaking process can be followed by accessing the rulemaking register, which is published weekly each Thursday or earlier. The table of contents on the title page and the list of notices on page 1 of each issue will identify the relevant pages and notices which each issue contains. And then there's a link to that page. Item 2, vacant HEAC memberships. New Hampshire School Boards Association has been contacted multiple times to nominate a member, still awaiting a response. The office is not going to contact them again about the matter this year. School Principals Association has also been contacted to ask if they would nominate a member. They responded they have not had any interest to date. The office does not intend to contact them again about the matter this year. Once meeting is convened, hopefully later this spring, the non-public school advisory council will be asked if they will be nominating a member to HEAC. Following the resignation of Tim Carney from HEAC, Rebecca Woodman was appointed to fill the remainder of his term by the Commissioner of Education. Congratulations, Rebecca. Thank you. Representative Cordelli, HEAC non-voting member, indicated the Speaker of the House of Representatives would consider appointing a second member of the House Education Committee soon. Katie, would that be you?
That's
Representative
me.
Cord-
And there's- Yeah, I'm one of them, and Representative Caitlin Kutab is the other one. She's in Disney World right now.
How nice for her. Welcome. And item 6, Sarah Cheek has tendered her resignation effective April 15th. A replacement for this position will be directly appointed by the Commissioner of Ed. If you're aware of any potential candidates, please have them send a description of their background in home education and contact information to Tim Carney. He will forward to the Commissioner. 7, an updated HEAC membership has been posted to New Hampshire NHED webpage to reflect the above changes. List will be updated to reflect changes in the email addresses. This office requests members provide an updated HEAC specific email to be provided as soon as possible. I know many of us at the last meeting created HEAC. I have not informed them, though maybe informing Tim has been enough. And has anybody checked the website that they was?
Well, I know yours is available. You did share
Okay.
it around.
Great, yeah, we want to get those posted on the website. Maybe we should all check to see. Heather, we were informed, I'm just gonna pause our update for a minute. We're informed by Tim Carney at our last meeting that any correspondence regarding HEAC
Yeah.
could be called
Okay.
as a public information request.
Sure.
And so if you use a personal email, they can take all your personal email, if you use your phone. And so he's advised that we create our own separate HEAC email and just use those. So just FYI,
Yeah.
it was new information for me.
Yeah.
Item 3, education freedom accounts. And we just met Brian Volk.
Mhm.
He has been hired as EFA administrator, March 24th, 2023. Children's Scholarship Fund should continue to be contacted for any questions about the EFA program as the new staff member gets up to speed. Frequently asked questions, no progress. And last item, number 5, access to public school programs by non-public, public charter schools or home educated pupils. A draft technical assistance advisory relative to requiring that the local school board shall adopt a policy regulating participation in curricular course and co-curricular programs. Is being developed by NAGD. It's been requested that HEAC be given the opportunity to review and comment on this document. The office is actively working on updating the document to reflect recent law changes. Hopes to have a draft document available for HEAC to review at their next meeting pending review by the New Hampshire ED attorney and the commissioner. So just one comment, I had to deal with this today about a summer camp program and a homeschool family that was told they couldn't register. And so it would be really great to have this technical advisory available. Are there any comments or questions regarding the New Hampshire Education Update Commissioner's Report?
I don't know if this is Jennifer. I don't know if it fits here or later on the agenda, but I did have one comment for the technical advisory.
Mhm.
I think they're saying it's equal access advisory, but I actually went and looked at one of the large school districts and I noticed that they updated their policies right before the new law came out last year. So they have a couple different policies that actually affect homeschoolers, not looking at the equal access, but looking at the general home education non-public policy. It still reflects the 40th percentile. So it would be good if they looked at the entire new law that was passed and included that in equal access. And in a way, 40th percentile does affect equal access, because if you're using that saying you can only access if you could show progress, and they're not, like maybe if there's a special needs child, they won't necessarily meet the 40th percentile, and yet for a special needs public school child, they're not going to do that. So that would block equal access right there.
Right.
So I would recommend that in the technical advisory, they address all parts of the new law changes.
A good suggestion.
I have a question as well.
Yes, Rebecca.
In reading that, I was wondering, it says curricular and co-curricular. Does that also include being access to the guidance counselor to get information on scholarships, grants, workshops, that type of thing? And I also noticed that in Nashua, they actually have a career pathways coordinator that works with students to be able to explain to them all the various pathways to get credits. So I'm wondering, does that fall under this bill of equal access
Yeah.
as well?
I'm gonna let you answer first, Heather, and then I'll.
I would
chime in.
say yes, but I've been a
Yes.
big proponent of partnerships with home education. You could have equal access to all the same kinds of things a student who's attending the local public school would have. So you would have to know that you can do that.
Yes.
You would have to know it's available, and then you can make an appointment, you call the school. And again, I've said this since I've been on this group. What happened to you today? Make sure you got to call somebody if you don't have a good
Yes.
experience, like, oh, hey, you can't do that. I had a school call me one time saying, oh, kid can't go on a field trip. Of course they go on a field trip, right? And we're going to figure that out. So
Yeah.
it's people building the capacity of people to understand this stuff.
Yes.
Well, I just wondered, because it's curricular and co-curricular, and then it defines some of the areas of
Yeah.
co-curricular, but doesn't say.
That would be curricular, actually, the
What it
transition
would
to
it
it
be?
all. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And
Guidance counselor, you know, scholarships that
yeah.
yeah,
homeschoolers would not be aware of.
this is Jennifer Althea. Yeah, that was brought up, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
Somebody was very concerned about scholarships and home educated students not having access. They
Right,
don't
right.
necessarily know. So that would be another thing to note.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it hits me because in a formal life, I was a guidance counselor, so
Oh,
it kind of hits home.
we're good. Great.
Yeah, it's just making sure that it's
Yeah.
accessible.
Right. And that
For
is,
everybody.
this is Mike speaking. That is the problem of how to make this information known outside of the school community. And I guess I would encourage homeschoolers who want that information to be more proactive and instead of waiting for the school system to notify them,
Right.
to reach out, ask lots of questions. What's available? Here's what I need. How would I go about to get it?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions regarding the Commissioner's report updates from the New Hampshire Department of Ed? Great. I see Katie has posted her email. Thank you, Katie. Anybody would like to record that? And next we have member reports. Katie, I'm going to ask you if there's any legislation or reports, because Senator Ward or Representative Cordelli are not with us, but if there's anything you'd like to inform us about from your world, you can even take a few minutes to think about it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I was trying to remember, we had two bills on the committee that were, they were regarding payment to the public school for homeschoolers attending classes at the public school. So I don't think it necessarily affects the HEAC. Michelle, you helped with one of those, I believe. I can't
Yes.
remember.
I believe they were retained in committee.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened to them. I think, yeah, they were retained, I believe. They were both retained in committee. So they'll be coming back. We'll be working on them in the fall. I think those were the only two bills that I remember that affected homeschool students in particular.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Michelle?
This is Michelle. There was another bill that tended to bleed into home education. It was on background checks,
Yes.
HB 628,
Oh,
and that one was also retained.
oh my gosh, thank you. I was just leaped onto this meeting without being fully prepared even for my appointment. So thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
We all rely on Michelle.
Which is why she wants to cut back. At 80 hours of
Yes,
volunteerism.
yes.
Yikes.
And just to clarify, retained in committee means it could come back. Yes. Okay.
Well, we have to work on it. In education, apparently, we always work on the bills, so they're not dead. We will work on them and bring them back again in a different form.
Very good. Thank you. Acton Academy Seacoast, Sarah has resigned. Is there anybody else affiliated with them or have information? Christian Home Educators, New Hampshire and Southern Maine. No updates from my group. And Jen for Catholics United.
There's no concerns. Our group just continues to grow.
Nice.
Great. And Grant State Home Educators, Michelle.
Couple things to share. So this is Michelle. Our group is still seeing insane amounts of growth. Just since our last meeting 2 months ago, we've added over 250 new people to our main group alone, which is surprising this late in the year. And it's still keeping up. So people are still, it's that tsunami that just keeps coming, which is great, but a lot of new people. We're still seeing a lot of confusion about the EFA program, which is why I wanted to ask about that when with meeting Brian. We had one person specifically tell us that somebody with the Children's Scholarship Fund of New Hampshire told them that is identical to homeschooling, except you have a due date for your assessment. That's a quote. So a lot of people who are utilizing the program don't even understand what those differences are. So some sort of technical advisory would be massively helpful. I think this week alone, I've dealt with about 4 questions about the EFA. And since there's no end in sight to the growth of that program, this is just going to keep on going. So the sooner we can have some sort of clarity on that from the department, I think it would be terrifically helpful. The other thing I wanted to share is we're doing a monthly reading challenge to our members. It's open to all homeschoolers. You can find it on our website. And at the end of the calendar year, we'll pick out 4 names for prizes. So like our April reading challenge is on poetry. So, since it's National Poetry Month, and we don't even ask people to read a particular author or
Right.
particular book. So we leave that to the parents to decide what's appropriate, what the reading level should be for the child, whatever, how they want to use it. But people are having fun with it, so I wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you. Okay. Home education community, Rebecca?
No update.
No updates. Very good. New Hampshire Homeschooling Coalition, Althea, any updates to share?
We've also seen a lot of interest and a lot of questions, all of which are answerable and manageable. So there's nothing that we needed to bring to the HEAC at this moment, although I will echo Jen's comment that it will be really helpful when we can have some of the vacant positions filled, so that we can have all sides of the all sides at the table and work out any issues that come up together.
Agreed. New Hampshire Homeschool Older Kids Park Day. Anybody have anything to do with that? And New Hampshire School Administrators Association.
Well, I updated them at our last meeting, again, reminded them to
Great.
update their policies. And that there were folks that were gonna be spot checking and reporting out about that. So I think that's a good thing.
That is a good thing, yes.
Right, so, yeah, keeping that on the front burner.
Yeah.
We're partners.
I have seen the New Hampshire School Board Association regularly updating
Yeah.
policies, and
They
suggested policies to the school
For the-
districts.
That's right.
So we need the boards to make sure they're looking at those and regularly trying to incorporate them.
Mhm.
And in my other role, I'm still signing homeschool letters of intent for people who want to homeschool.
Mhm.
That's been happening all year, so that makes sense that growth, there seems to be a lot of growth in the area. Okay. Moving on to Ed 315 rulemaking update. So, this is regarding homeschooling rules, and a big part of that was debatable was the equal access to school programs. Would anybody like to start off the comments or concerns regarding the updates? We've read through them. There's no real significant changes that have occurred to this point. Am I correct on that?
It looks, this is Jen, it looked like what was approved at the state board was pretty much what was presented to us at the last HEAC meeting.
Yeah, I remember getting the attachment and reading through it, and it looked like the changes we had suggested were
Right.
still incorporated.
Yeah.
Michelle?
This is Michelle. There were a couple additional tweaks, but they were all appropriate, like specifying that HEAC is accountable to 91A, the right to know law, and a few other things. I did have one concern, but I had missed it. It said that the DOE wouldn't, they had removed, I think it was currently in our rules is 315.11, but they had just merged it into a different section, and I had missed that. And so I was concerned that the DOE wasn't going to keep our meetings or host the location. So I was able to have that addressed. So that was good.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, there still seem to be questions in different parts of the state about equal access. Even though it's been a lot since at least for a decade, right? And longer than that. But there still seem to be questions and some misconceptions about that. So hopefully this update will help clarify some of that. Does anybody have any concerns? I'm not sure The technical advisory, that's what we were referring to earlier?
I don't think they have it done yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
But any community concerns from any of the groups about local school districts regarding policies or complaints? Michelle?
Michelle speaking. It's just the same old, same problems that we've always heard and tried to address. Like even today, I got a note from a mom that her school district is giving her a hassle about withdrawing her child. I mean, it's just same thing we get again and again, and empower the parents. Nope, you're good. That's all you have to do. You don't need to sign anything else or give extra information. Even if they ask you for it, you don't have to. And then offer to intervene if necessary. But our group policy is to first try to empower the parents to speak for themselves. We figured that it was so many people, thousands and thousands of
Yes.
families, that's better than us trying to do it for them. And this grows them into leadership and more familiarity with what the rules do contain and don't contain. So that's how we approach it when this comes up, but it's never ending. It's all the time.
So this is Heather, and actually, this is interesting. So this actually came up and I did like an educational thing, created like a little technical advisory for our administrators in our school district because a parent made a statement in a meeting, I'm going to homeschool my child. They had a whole series of steps, like, oh, you gotta do this. I said, no, actually, just that's it right there. They can make that statement. It doesn't have to be in writing. What I suggested the teams do at the building level is you send, like the administrator sends a nice email to the parents saying, I understand you are homeschooling your child effective today, whatever that date is, so that it's clear, so that if they didn't mean it, like, oh, I really meant like I'm going to, or if I just doesn't, like sometimes it comes up. So I said that allows the parent, you have it in writing, then you'd acknowledge it, because they were all like, well, no, it's got to go to the superintendent's office. It's got to be approved. I'm like, no, actually, but then you can inform the superintendent's office that this parent is homeschooling their child. So it was very calming, because I think a lot of times people in school buildings get worried, like, is his child accounted for? So their intentions aren't, they think the bureaucratic part of all of it, like, I gotta have these forms and the stuff.
Sure.
And there needs to be a letter from the superintendent and it has to be in writing. I'm like, no, it's kind of like special education. I can say I want to refer my child for an evaluation. I don't have to put it in writing or fill out a form. And so by having that email, it
That's
just,
a good analogy.
it really helped them. They'll get over the hurdle of you were there now, you're the principal, you're responsible in your mind for that child and family. You're now writing to the parent saying, as of today, you're homeschooling your child effective today. You can reach out or not to the superintendent, just some basic response. And it calmed right down after that. But it was interesting this fall. The parent like took their kid home and they were like, well, kid's got to come to school. I said, no, mother's homeschooling her child. That's what just happened on that day. Right. I think that's what it is, though. They just, you say, oh my God, I gotta like do something.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, there's so much paperwork in the public school
Oh.
that with less paperwork, I mean, there's still a lot of paperwork in homeschool, but less to be given in to anyone. It's a shock to them, but that's the law.
And I think also it's because years and years and years ago, all these things were in place and you could get in trouble if you didn't do it.
Right.
So by it becoming less and much easier, it's made it scarier to people, I think, in a funny way.
Yeah.
Schools.
But that's a great idea of how to document it and
Yeah.
clarify,
Nice
well, what did she
simple
say?
Yeah, nice simple email on today,
Yeah.
today you told so-and-so, or you told me you're homeschooling your child effective today. Please let me know if that was not your intention. I actually made a model little email that you could send and boom, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, like a little technical advisory for the administrators. Yeah.
Maybe that should go in the technical advisory too. What happens if someone walks in, orally says something to you?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
It wouldn't be bad to have some examples
Yeah,
Yeah.
of scenarios, so to
Yeah.
speak.
maybe you could send that to Tim.
I can, I would be happy to. I gotta make my HEAC email now. I don't mind. It's fine, right, to know they're
Sure.
not gonna see anything bad. I'm very
Yes, no.
transparent. I'll send it from my
Uh,
regular schooling now. Just say this is something we did at Merrimack because administrators were like calling and saying the kid wasn't in school. And I'm like, that is not true. This mother withdrew her child that day.
It also is, when you mentioned parents, Michelle, how we carry over that teacher authority and school authority into adulthood. And you're afraid, even as adults, with your own children, like, can't tell the school they're wrong or can't ask the school questions because they know already. But that's, empowering the parents to speak for themselves
Yeah.
is a great thing.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay, so any other comments about immediate business or? Very good, then we're gonna move on. Michelle, you have a best practices review. I think this is a nice idea.
So
Thank you for bringing it up.
thank you for the chance to put this together. So this is Michelle. I'm going to talk a little bit to put some framework on this before we can pick away at it. So you should have received a draft of what I labeled HEAC best practices. It is modeled after a lot of what we've already been doing for a long time. So hopefully most of this wasn't unfamiliar or new. I did attach a couple days ago the research that I did with this, so hopefully you've had a chance to review that. It all had hyperlinks to the stuff I found, so you could see for it for yourself. So the last time we met in January, we had the DOE attorney Liz Brown speak about open meeting requirements. And that's what prompted this whole thing, to create something for the council going forward to guide how we conduct business, our standard operating practices, bylaws, best practices, whatever you want to call it, but something that guides how we conduct business. So it's in keeping with the New Hampshire Constitution in that part in Part 1, Article 8, and RSA 91A, which is often referred to as New Hampshire's right to know law. I included quotes from that that are readily available anywhere online for what that is, but it boils down to accessible, accountable, and transparent. So with those as the guiding principles, I try to put together what could be HEAC's standard operating practices for not just our council, but for, especially with the turnover we have, that this would be important to help guide them. So with that in mind, I'm hoping we can discuss them one at a time, or if you want, Mike, we could kind of discuss them as a block and then go back individually as needed. The first one.
Get blocked would be a good.
Okay. The first one says that HEAC meets September through May on the third Friday of every other month, with alternating months as the placeholder. Yes.
June.
Well, June was the placeholder for May.
Yeah, so many
How-
times, we've met. in
Oh,
June.
that's fine. I didn't know how you wanted, the idea was that June was the placeholder for May.
Yeah, definitely, it would be a placeholder, because
Yep.
I'd love to be out in June.
Yes. Okay, that's easy to change. I think the intention is the same. So, but that's consistent with how HEAC has conducted business for several years. The next one is that the HEAC meetings occur at a location provided by the department. Yes.
I think that's already in the rules that they will provide. The only reason I bring this up too is, as long as it's properly noticed, we have had subcommittee meetings in other places that should be properly noticed, but if for some reason the department couldn't give us a place, legally, we can still meet.
Right.
So if that could be
Okay.
like reworded, or maybe it doesn't need to be there because, I don't know, but they support us, but we don't need that to meet.
Okay. Is somebody able to pull up what 315 says now and in the proposed version?
Possibly.
There's, I don't think there's any change in those version for meeting location.
I think you're right, it is in there.
Or it might even be in the law.
That's what I'm thinking. I think it's in the RSA.
I want to make sure because
Yeah,
I know this
yeah.
is an issue for some other advisory groups for the department.
Said it was 315.
315.
Do you not have Wi-Fi access?
It says I'm connected, but. Believe it or
I
not.
don't want to touch this,
Okay.
but I think I will.
I don't see.
DOE.
Yeah, actually, it's in the law.
Okay.
One
Okay.
ninety-three,
Yeah.
A10, 3, at the very end, well, almost at the very end of the law, it says that
Okay.
well, it says the legislative members of the council receive mileage rates. Wait a minute. Legislative.
Are you talking about the, I know I'm not supposed to like intervene, but the
There's a,
rules, the 350 HE, these.
either in the law or the
something.
rules, it says that
That's the,
support will be provided by the Department of Education.
In let's see, 315.11 is the current section. I know it's
You are so fun.
okay, so. what
that
do
was
we
the
need?
section that talked about the DOE's support, but that's being changed, I think, to 0.09 in the new version.
There it is. Selection for the advisory, then it got, yeah.
This
there's
one?
3. No, I think it's in 11.
Oh, I'm sorry, should I go back?
Just, we might have to look at all 3 of them. Just go to that one first.
The one I just did?
31509, Yeah.
Okay.
Go down, just like look there quick, because I'm agreeing.
See,
I
that
think
says
someone
we,
Is this a new one?
Recommending.
This one doesn't have that. Anything.
Establish agreements, providing the annual report, yeah. Okay, so that's it there. All right, go to the next section, B. 11, yeah. 10.
11, this one?
11, yeah,
Yeah, go to 11.
yeah, that says,
see, that just speaks to the records. It
Oh.
doesn't
Just-
speak to a
no,
facility.
Yeah.
it doesn't speak to a facility at all.
So we might want to have, say it somewhere.
It doesn't mean that we have
Right.
to meet at a DOE building, but it is something that is otherwise provided.
Yeah.
Provided can be pretty loose.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a DOE
Oh, you
facility.
know what? I'm also in this like, weird, not weird, but
That's not,
it's not the official.
yeah, but those looked accurate to me, as I recall.
Yeah, that is correct. That's what it says.
So we can change that language, of course. The intention is just, that it's a public space. It's not like somebody's private home and that it's accessible.
Yeah, it has to be public
Yeah.
space. So yeah, so wherever in the rules, the members of the Home Education Advisory Council shall serve without compensation. Subject to available funds, the department shall financially support the activities of the council, including but not limited to such expenses as mileage, secretarial assistance and meeting facilities.
Oh, and meeting facilities.
As
Is
of-
that sufficient?
You'd have to look at the new thing, but this is of January 2021. The last time I printed it was ED 315.12. I'm not aware of them taking it out.
Okay.
So we'd want to double check and see where it is. So yeah, it actually says meeting facilities and secretarial assistance.
Okay.
That's in the rules. I didn't see it in the law.
Okay.
Yep, it is right here. So again, this
Okay.
is the official website.
Meeting facilities. Okay.
Yeah, meeting facility.
So as long as that is still in the
Yeah,
updated
Right.
version, we should be okay.
yep, and check the updated rules. Keep an eye on.
Yeah. we can check. All right, so moving on. The next point that I suggested was that the chairman prepare the draft annual report for approval by a majority vote of the council. Yeah. You should have been on this team with me, Jen. Yes.
No, I think you're doing a great job. I'm just pointing certain things out from
Yep.
my experience. And one thing from my experience is that, like from co-chairing or chairing, that sometimes when you have somebody say, yes, I will be chair or co-chair, somebody is stronger in writing and somebody's stronger in oral presentation, or somebody has more time and somebody has less time.
Yep.
So some years the chairman writes it. I know you have a second line down there, but some years the chairman writes it, some years the vice chairman might
Yeah.
present it. So it's done differently. I'm just, as long as we keep that second line about may delegate, and it's very clear to whoever might be looking to be chair that I don't have to do everything, the vice chair may write this, so that we get somebody to step up into the chair position.
Would it be helpful to say the chairman or someone else designated by the chair?
Yes,
Or their designee. Is that
or
what
their
you're saying?
designee.
Okay,
Does it actually say written or prepares? Seems to me like you can get help.
I mean, the word prepare
It just
is
looks scary if you want to like.
I know April's gonna help
Say,
you.
or their designee.
It says prepare. It doesn't mean you
Yeah.
have to do it alone,
Correct, yeah.
and it doesn't mean you have to give the presentation either.
Mhm.
I didn't want to do that.
Right, so,
You're
but
good
it,
at it.
but it is, the chair is ultimately accountable
Responsible,
to
yes,
making sure
yes.
it happens, but it
Right.
doesn't have to be done by that individual.
Right, right.
Does
That's
that
their
make
response.
sense?
Yes, yes.
Does the language reflect that?
Well,
You
if
could say
you,
ensures the preparation of said report.
oh, that's good.
Okay,
Just ensures the preparation
Oh,
of the annual
good.
report. In other words, they're responsible to make it happen.
Yeah.
However they
Yes.
want to do it with the team is how they can do it.
We'll be
Yes.
asking for volunteers.
Or everybody writes a second.
okay, so that section would say the chairman ensures the preparation
Yes,
Mhm.
of a draft annual report.
There it is.
that's perfect.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
So if you want to be chair?
okay, okay. Of a draft annual report for approval by a majority vote of the
Yeah.
council
Yes.
prior to presenting it to the State Board of Ed. A minority report may be prepared.
Yep.
That's in keeping with
Yeah.
what the attorney actually suggested for that healthy debate in the council.
May I just
Yeah.
at this point ask about dates? When is the annual report need to be completed by in order to be presented to the state board? Does anybody happen to know this?
Historically, we've had it circulated for public discussion at our no later than the May or
Right.
June meetings.
And they
Okay.
went before the board.
That way it can be finalized and discussed
Yep.
as in public
Yep.
forum for discussion, and then prepared to present to the state board, typically at their July or August
Yeah.
meeting, as depending on who's available and how that shakes
Yes.
out. But that gives us at least one opportunity to speak about it publicly to get that majority vote.
Yeah,
Thank you.
this is Jen. Yeah, I usually say to try to have it for May in case there's no quorum in May, then you end up with a June meeting. But if you shoot for June, somebody
Sure.
might say, let's meet in July. And I don't want to do that. So that's why.
Great, thank you.
Okay, the next one was that the chairman may delegate responsibilities to the vice chair and other council members as needed. So it's not limited, we're a
Yeah.
team.
Mhm.
Meetings will be posted on the DOE website and at the DOE meeting location at least 24 hours in advance, and also publish the agenda and related meeting materials prior to the meeting. That second part is the part that goes a little bit beyond the right to know requirement for the minimum,
Mhm.
but this was also something the attorney recommended,
Sure.
but it's not something that we've historically done. So that was in keeping with her suggestion. The next point was HEAC allows council members and the public to attend remotely. Yes,
I know that you added extra information about bills and how they're talking about quorum numbers. But just so that HEAC council members are clear on this, I might say something like if a quorum of council members is physically present. Because some people think, oh, I can just be remote, especially if they're new. But by law, right now, we can't meet unless we have a physical.
maybe to add that says in keeping with RSA 91A. I mean,
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
has to be
Right.
in 91A, whether we
Yeah.
say it or not.
Mhm.
We're still accountable for it. But if you want, we can specifically state it so that,
Because it's confusing.
sure. So I'll write in keeping with 91A. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are we able to continue meeting with
I don't know.
Heather? Okay,
Right. I think we will have to pause.
all right.
While we're waiting, does anybody have a suggestion as to what we'll do with these best practice lists?
I do.
Okay. Somewhere we'll need to publish them or make them available.
I have suggestions.
I think the attorneys on the website.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have a question. I may have missed, Rebecca, your introduction. I know that you've, but would you be able to state your title again and your position?
Home education community.
Home education community, did I hear that right?
Sorry.
Yes, she said, she asked if she
Yeah.
heard home education community correctly. Yes.
Home education community is
Yeah.
your title? And which department is that? Or,
It's,
There is no.
yeah, there is no department. It's one of the homeschool group representatives, I believe. Is that correct? 'Cause or are you with the DOE?
No, I'm not with the DOE,
Okay,
and I'm really not representing any specific homeschool group.
My understanding, this is Jen, from what we read, is that she replaces Tim.
Yes,
And Tim, if you look to the law, there's 2 spots that can be appointed for the department by the commissioner.
yes.
So she would be one of those spots appointed for the department. But I mean, in the past, we've had people that don't actually represent the department, like somebody from New Hampshire Higher Education. And Sarah, I think Sarah Cheekman was not representing the department, but was appointed for one of those seats. So that's where she would fit in the law.
Thank you for that clarification.
yes, thank you.
All right, moving on. Almost done. We're making good progress. The public will have an opportunity to address the council at the end of the meetings and at the discretion of the chairman. The individual will identify themselves by name and affiliation if appropriate. Some other feedback I got from other people that I ran this by was to have it at the beginning, like we did today, have that opportunity. That way, if we had an important vote that was going to be on something, that person who made a point of joining us for the meeting would have the opportunity to address that. But I like the idea of having it also at the chairman's discretion. I know when I was not always an appointed person and just a member of the public, one of the peanut gallery folks, just hanging out with my pals, there were times I had something to contribute. Sometimes I was specifically asked by members of the council to do some research. And so to be able to have that opportunity to present it was, I think it was helpful. And so I think having that flexibility is still important.
Is there an implied need to respond right away? So for example, someone may ask questions that we don't have answers to at that time. Do we need to write in that that we will answer them by the next meeting, or some kind of a response thing? No, it's just public comment?
Public comment,
But public comment, yeah.
Okay,
there's
Yeah.
no need to reply at all.
okay,
You
Right.
don't have to respond at all, just they can say their piece
Yeah.
and have their say.
say thank you. Okay,
I mean, that's often how a lot of public meetings are conducted.
right,
Yeah, Jen.
I just wanted to comment, I like how Michelle wrote that in. I was thinking about that because I'd heard the comment that there should be public comment listed at the beginning to allow, if anything's going to come up. But putting it at the discretion of the chairman, like if, there should always be public comment, and there's a section at the end. But if you know that there are people coming up who are specifically anti-homeschooling and are just totally opposed, there should either be like a cap on your time, so it doesn't totally derail the meeting, or at the chairman's discretion for something like, if someone has done research, if they want to present something, depending on what the situation is. I mean, it always needs to be public comment, but it shouldn't disrupt business.
I know many public meetings have public comment limited to 3 minutes per person. And if we happen to be, the chair would always have that ability to cap it. And that would be something that's really standard. I think this allows for public comment, but allows for flexibility depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Final point that I have is something that is relatively new to what we've done traditionally, and it says HEAC post minutes, meeting materials, annual reports, and recordings of meetings on the DOE website, and retains them a minimum of some period of time to be open for discussion. The reason I suggested it, I think the two parts of that are not standard to our current practices are the meeting materials. Those have not been traditionally shared on the DOE website, or the recordings have not. I think that reflects how a lot of public boards are doing business today, whether it's at the state level or at the municipal level. Those things are standard included. They are subject to a right to know request anyhow. So it's not going into non-public information. I don't know that was my rationale in including that for how long it would be kept. I saw some things on, like, I think the Municipal Association has a 10-year period that they recommend for for the local selectmen boards and other public bodies, a 10-year period. But I don't know if, I know HEAC has had difficulty finding and keeping those records. George Durazio was our keeper of all that institutional knowledge for a long time. There were years that information was completely lost and that's unfortunate. But that was the rationale behind that talking point. Yeah, Jen.
I do have a comment about the recordings. Traditionally, if you have homeschool moms who are in the process of homeschooling, they have often, just for lack of babysitters, brought up their children. So as a policy, I would say an audio recording. I don't know how that would technically work if you can see, but put an audio just like the State Board of Education does, because I would feel uncomfortable, and I think I've heard from other members of my group that if you have your kids, a photo of your kids, they'd rather not participate in HEAC. Very sensitive about having the photos of kids kept up online.
Rebecca, I went back and I listened to the audio recording of the meeting back in January when Liz Brown was here. And she made the comment that keeps him, and I wrote it down: simple, short, concise, understandable, published, and transparent. And she did make the comment, and I went back and listened to it twice, about the recording. And her general, from what I gather what she said, was it was best to destroy them than not keep them. Am I correct on that? From what she said as the attorney, because you have to keep all of that documentation. Whatever you put down, you're going to have, you have to keep it for quite a lengthy time under the right to know law. So we would have to keep all of that material.
So we weren't doing recordings prior, right? We were doing
Prior to the
minutes.
pandemic.
Yeah.
I thought she had said that we could re-listen to the recording, that they could be kept and used for the minutes. And then
Yes.
as a policy destroyed.
And the
after-
minutes were accepted.
When the-
That's-
yes, when the
that's
minutes
what
were
we were
accepted.
told.
Oh, I see.
That they would be,
That's what we
they
were
were
doing.
That makes
destroyed.
sense.
Yes,
That makes
Yes, that
a
is
lot of sense.
exactly.
That is,
Okay.
it.
That is exactly. what
Once
you're
they've
saying.
been accepted and they're voted in,
Yes,
the
then
recording can be
they're
destroyed.
destroyed. That is correct.
Actually, and keeping recordings can take up a lot of data. So if you have them on a website, you have to have capacity for that. To retain, say, 10 years of recordings is a lot.
And when we talk about we keeping recordings, I think we're really meaning DOE. And
And we have the recordings and we also have the ability to delete them as well.
okay. So we probably want to add that piece in after minutes are accepted, recording.
I'm going to disagree with that practice very strongly
Okay,
because that it is easy to record video now because everybody meets on Zoom. It's
Mhm.
standard practice in so many of New Hampshire's public bodies where they're keeping video, not just destroying it once minutes are available. And I'll give you some examples as to why those video recordings matter. People here already commented that those minutes were referred to, those audio recordings were referred to, because even as Althea has been great at keeping minutes, that level of detail that Althea has been so good to provide is not what's the minimum that's necessary by law. The minimum requires who's in attendance, and if you take a vote, and who seconds that, and then when you start, when you end, the discussion, the real body of the context of what is discussed does not have to be included in the minutes. And there have been a number of years when HEAC did not properly document meetings, failed on 91A, was atrocious about providing minutes, conducted illegal meetings. And so this has been a big concern, and why, frankly, I've been up here since 2018, being a regular groupie and recording, because there have been big gaps of this body, not just of others. Yeah.
I just want to comment that although when she refers to before 2018, I was not involved in any knowledge of how the quorum was founded. I can tell you it became, because I've been on here for 8 years, that it was unclear to the HEAC members what a quorum consisted of sometimes. We got different advice from the attorneys. So no one was trying to do anything illegal.
It was brought up
And
many times.
Many times they tried to post minutes and we were told it was very difficult technically for the DOE to get them up. So if you put a requirement like this and it relies on the DOE, if you're held accountable, you can't do much when there's technical difficulties at the DOE. But
Shireen.
Please don't use my starting point of today's meeting. Like as evidence of poor.
No. No, it's, I started really following this in 2015 because it was so egregious.
Wow.
There were meetings that happened where people stayed, discussed, and never kept minutes. And we were told, oh, no, we didn't have to supply minutes because we didn't have a meeting, but people stayed and met. It was really excessive. And that's actually why I'm still up here today doing this and why I still bring some sort of recording device. Because there have been significant gaps. And you're absolutely right. I remember the other representative, different people representing the DOE who said it was too difficult to get minutes up. That's why they weren't done in a timely manner. That's why they couldn't do X, Y, or Z or fulfill what was already in education rules for their DOE requirement. So I was trying to be the bad guy, the squeaky wheel, to make sure that information got available to the community. So I think with today's technology making this so easy to do, that we'd better have a darn good excuse if that's why we're going to not include recordings. The reason I think they can be very valuable is, here's an example from Katie's committee. When I was speaking to the House Education Committee on a bill, the sponsor of that bill said, oh no, we haven't talked about this issue before. I was able to point to a recording on the House Education Committee's YouTube channel and show her not only when they previously discussed it, but what was said. And it completely corrected her, honestly. So these recordings matter. There have been wonderful things shared. There was a HEAC meeting a couple years ago where the special education person from that association spoke and talked about the process of getting a referral and how to go about that in great detail. It was wonderful. That was not captured in the minutes. And so that whole process that has helped hundreds of families would have otherwise been lost. But I've made my recording because that's what I do, and it has been helpful to many, many people. So I think if we're going to deny having a recording, if a family has a picture of a child that they don't want on camera, it's easy to fuzz out your background or set a photo face down or something like that. They can control their environment if they don't want an image in their background, if they're participating.
Or you could do audio, which takes less bandwidth.
Would we, obviously, we're talking about the right to know law. People being able to get a hold of all of this materials via the right to know law. If we did not have recordings of any sort, and Michelle did a recording for her group, Granite State, would we be liable to produce that because it is her personal copy?
No.
Under the right to know law? No.
I think while I'm a member, it would be subject to right to know.
Okay.
But once I am not a member, or those periods when I haven't been, then it isn't.
Is it?
But I do have a YouTube channel and everything I do is there. It's easy to
Because
do.
the public can make a recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would assume that you're correct, that it would not fall under the right to know law if someone requested information from us.
Right, as
We
a
would
member
not
of the
have that.
public, right. Jen, sorry.
I can give another little anecdote like she did actually. There was an issue which was not brought before HEAC meeting this year. April and I almost did bring it from our group about homeschooling in one of the districts. But we did research, we did our own right to know. And we went back and we had a little bit of difficulty with the right to know, but we listened to the recording on the website of this district. And as much as it seemed like a difficulty to the family and it was still a concern, we realized it didn't rise to the level of an actual legal challenge. So you could just work verbally with that as opposed to bring it to HEAC. So we did a lot of background work using recordings to solve an issue. And that was at a government meeting, local government. So it was helpful.
Well, the other part is if somebody can't be there, they can watch it.
Yes.
Like you can go back and see like what happened. I mean, I have no problem with it at all. I mean, especially if the public is going to do it. So if people are making recordings, you should have one too.
Well,
Rebecca, go ahead.
well, my other question was about meeting materials. Does that mean any materials that we're given here, we also have to keep,
Each of us.
even though they're online somewhere, the DOE?
These are not online.
Okay.
And this was our agenda.
Mhm.
And this is the meeting packet. Essentially, this would be equivalent to what the state BOE has for their meeting information and does become public. It's equivalent to what the executive council gets as their packet of information. that then becomes public information. My personal notes, what I take
Sure.
are not, but this packet becomes,
But do I have to keep this packet is what we're asking.
I
In
don't
case
think
somebody-
as each
No,
member.
no.
you-
No,
just
but
the-
somebody would have,
Well,
somewhere
it
it would
has to be
kept.
housed, it's housed on the website.
Right.
All the materials have to be uploaded after they've been adopted.
right.
And then they
All
get
of the
placed there, so you can
materials
just
that
make
we-
the video or the audio recording and put it up there too.
So one of the issues before we decide if what we want to do, is there capacity for the DOE to host all of this? And maybe Shireen, you can't answer that. But could we ask you to inquire about that? Okay,
I'll write that down.
yeah,
thank you.
personally, I think this is in keeping with other public bodies, whether it's at the state level or local level. It's certainly in keeping with being accessible, accountable, and transparent.
Mhm.
And speaking to the recordings, we have, busy parents, busy
Yeah.
families who
Mhm.
can't make it here in
Yeah,
person
watch it.
or
They can watch it
record
later.
live.
Yeah.
They can watch it later and still be informed. I know the Special Education Advisory Council is struggling with their quorums and accessibility and transparency, but especially in an era when we have the largest growing special ed children, there should be a darn good reason why we would place any kind of limitation on that. These families are busy, their ability to get up here is going to be limited. I feel real strongly about it.
Rebecca,
My question is, Liz Brown, I'm assuming that she is the attorney here at the DOE. And since her recommendation was to keep it simple and short, I'm assuming that she has also spoken with other councils, groups.
Yeah.
Concerning this as well. And it seems to me that her recommendation is to keep it as simple and concise as possible. So that is kind of the direction I would head in versus keeping lots of materials.
So what if we ran this by, what if she came one more time to May and we show her this and talk it through? Would that, because then we have the support of the Department of Education.
I don't think she can speak to the technical.
No, I think we have to get that too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
two separate questions.
Yeah.
Technical and.
So we need somebody
legal
who's
for-
technical and then we need the legal piece.
Yeah,
So I think if people
Legal
could address
recommendation.
those, that would be great.
I'll let Tim know, absolutely.
And I do, this is Jen, I do remember that the attorney said, if you take notes, if anyone takes notes, and they're used, like say Althea asked somebody and those notes end up helping towards the minutes, those notes have to be kept and I think submitted to the department, but they're subject to right to know.
Yeah.
it almost feels like there's an attorney protective opinion
Yeah,
and a
Yeah.
public knowledge
yeah.
and helpful side to this. And
And we want to balance that.
right, and I think,
Yeah.
we'll have to, and so I think it would be good to hear from Liz again on this. Because she's probably considered things we are not. And I would not want to be a committee that anybody feels like we're hiding information from.
No,
But I wouldn't want to open up everybody's personal life to an information request either. So it feels like we need another round of attorney advice. I like that suggestion. Michelle, I don't disagree with any of your arguments. I would just hate to see, anybody with a freedom of information request and I didn't keep those notes from that, and now it looks like we've been trying to hide something or just from sloppy record keeping. So I'll get in touch with DOE and invite Liz to our May meeting. And we'll have the hopefully the report draft to look at and
Yeah.
and consider, try to get that out to everybody before the meeting
Yeah.
to look at. Then we can have this big, heavy discussion all over again.
Well, no, a lot of it's already taken care of, so really it's just a couple things.
It does feel more refined. I
yeah.
will say that.
Yeah.
Should we take a vote on what we did address?
Sure. Yeah, is there, I think with the exception of the last statement, though, we can probably, are there any discussion points on the prior statements in the best practices?
I
Michelle?
just want to make sure I have what we talked about. So in the first one, it would say September through June.
Yes,
For the second point, I'll confirm that the new draft version of 315 has that language that's currently in ED 315.12.
Yeah.
The change to the third point says the chairman ensures the preparation of a draft. The rest of that read the same.
mhm,
The fourth point was none changed, same for fifth. The next one says HEAC allows council members and the public to attend remotely in keeping with 91A. The second to last one, I can change it from end of the meeting to the beginning of meetings and at the discretion for public input. If you want,
I think was at the.
I think it's fine as is.
okay,
Yeah, and then the
Okay.
chair would have discretion to move
Okay.
that anywhere they'd like.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'll rewrite this up for our next meeting with these changes.
Mhm.
Great.
And I'll leave that last one alone
Mhm.
so that that one is the one that is for the most
Yeah.
rigorous part of discussion
Yep.
and we can move the rest of it forward. Does that seem okay?
I like that.
It does.
And Michelle, you have a marked copy there of the draft. Would you be able to send that to me for the minutes?
Yes,
So I think we can say on behalf of everybody, thank you for doing all this
Oh,
work.
yeah.
It is very helpful to refine what we should be doing as a committee. So thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, that brings a little after 4, but it brings us to our announcements.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any announcements for the benefit of the group? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Annual report to the State Board of Education needs approval by May 19th meeting. I will work with April and have a draft version that I will email out to all the HEAC members, and you can review it before the May 19th meeting. Althea, I'll probably be getting in touch with you for any past minutes to put that report together.
Okay,
And then we'll get that.
they should be on the website, I think, but
Oh, good point. Thank you. Yes.
if anything's missing and I have it, just let me know.
Okay.
Oh,
I know,
that was
after
Yeah, that was good.
our discussion. Okay. All right, and another round of public comments, if there are any. Hearing none. Does anybody feel a need for a non-public session? Wonderful. Then,
No.
can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll
Michelle,
make a motion to adjourn.
any seconds?
I second.
Rebecca, seconds.
Getting in there quick there.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
We have to roll call.
Oh, we have to roll call. Okay, Althea, would you like to adjourn?
Yes, I,
She's
Wonderful.
tired of typing.
Michelle, would you like to adjourn?
Yes.
Rebecca, would you like to
Yes.
adjourn? Heather, would you like to
Yes,
adjourn?
please.
Jen?
Yes.
And Mike says yes also. Thank you all
Bye.
very much. Our next meeting will
Yeah, that's a
be,
good idea.
let me find the date.
May 19th,
The 19th, yes,
May 19th.
Friday, May 19th.
Let's please have a quorum.
I'll be there.
I'm just-
April put together a cool little spreadsheet where we can check off.
Okay,
I'll send that out.
okay,
Yeah. And you can just mark yourself as able to attend or not.
cool, okay. So are we gonna
Nice.
leave these with you to take care of
Yep.
these, or are we carrying them with us?
No, leave them. I do not.
We like, no, don't try. I want to leave mine here. Rebecca. I suggested we leave them with
Wise.
you. Aren't we doing great compared to when we first had us?
Thank you, Jen.
I was a terrible newbie, yeah.
I like the, you know.
It's good to see everybody. I'll see you guys
Good
in
to see
May.
you.
Yes, thank you
Yeah, no
again for
problem.
coming. It was
Yes, I know.
really happy to have you.
I miss her. It was a pleasure.
Won't be the same without you.
You'll have April.
Yes.
I'll talk